Okay, thanks.
Hello, Richard. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you finally as well, Derek. So
Yeah. You're in Poland?
that's right. I've lived here for 18 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, moved from near Canterbury actually. I used to live for 40 years.
Very
And
interesting.
and I moved here 2005, late 2005,
Okay.
and I'm not going back. I think
Apparently,
Britain's a sinking ship as far as I'm
yes.
concerned.
Well, no doubt. How did you choose to move to Poland?
Oh, my wife is fed up with hearing this story, but originally I met a Polish lady, at an event in London that involved Stephen Stapleton of Nurse with Wound and David Tibet of Current 93.
Mhm,
And we were just at the same event, and she became a good friend of mine.
mhm,
And um, I when she moved back to Poland, I came over here
mhm.
and fell in love with Krakow as well. So
Okay.
I, it made a huge impression. I used my music contacts as well because I've been doing my label,
Mhm.
uh, Fourth Dimension Records for many, many years, and I
Yeah.
used my connections and
Mhm,
met a couple of people here. There was a great improvisation scene going on at the time.
mhm.
So again, 18, 19 years ago, and I just thought this is a really vibrant city, very different to where I live, just outside of Canterbury
Mhm,
in
mhm.
England, a seaside town called Herne Bay,
Okay.
and that I've got really good friends there
Mhm.
even now, to this day,
Yeah.
that go back to the old punk days,
Mhm,
but I just thought Krakow was what I was looking for at the time, and I haven't looked back since. I met my wife here as well,
mhm.
and yeah, we've got a daughter as well. Yeah, 2.5 years old.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I just thought it was a good place. I did an English teaching course
Mhm,
as well, so
mhm,
I had a change of direction.
mhm,
Age of 40, needed a big change. I was a little bit miserable in
mhm,
England where
mhm,
I was.
mhm.
Um, I felt that I was trapped to a certain degree, and I felt that Krakow opened up a new chapter in my life. I'm now living just outside of Krakow, actually, a place
Okay.
called Velichka, but
Uh-huh.
uh, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's a lovely place, and it's a bit too warm in the summer for me,
Mhm.
but nonetheless,
Yeah.
you probably like the hot weather, though, do you?
No, I don't. I don't like
No,
it hot.
okay.
No, I like warm, but not hot.
Oh, okay. So similar to me, yeah. 25
Yeah,
degrees is good for me,
yeah.
So,
So,
but
so I was,
yeah, love it
and
here.
yeah. So I was looking up a little bit of information about you, Richard. You've been doing music and stuff for quite a while now. How did you start? And did you start with music or with writing or both?
Uh, I started doing a fanzine with a few
Right.
friends, and
Yes.
a few of those are still good friends of mine now.
Hmm.
I met them again when I was in England 2 weeks ago. But 1983,
Hmm.
I was a teenager, of course,
Yeah.
and I wasn't initially allowed to go to concerts by my parents, because I had a quite an authoritarian stepfather
Wow.
who was completely. He's lovely now, but
Hmm.
at the time
Hmm.
he wouldn't let me go to the punk concerts that I wanted to go to. So I missed
Yeah.
out on quite a few gigs in Canterbury because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started going, when I was finally old enough to, kind of, you know, put my foot down,
Hmm.
be assertive, and
Yeah.
stand up to my parents,
Hmm.
this is what, 16, yeah, 15, 16, 17 years old,
Hmm.
still living at home, of course, with my parents.
Yeah.
There was quite a lot going on in London, with, uh, I suppose, looking back, a lot of it would be considered goth now, but
Hmm. Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
groups, I was seeing groups like UK Decay,
Hmm.
who else? Killing Joke, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that, and Sex Gang Children.
Hmm. Hmm.
And at 17, I wanted to get involved somehow. I loved buying fanzines. I was really
Yeah.
into fanzines,
Hmm.
and I thought, yeah, this is something I enjoyed writing at school,
Yeah.
and I thought, yeah, maybe this is my inroads to getting involved, just writing about some of the music that was going on at the time.
Yeah.
So I started doing a fanzine called Grim Humor,
Yeah.
and you know, as documented in a book.
Yeah.
So
Now, yeah, I don't have any copies of it, but I heard
I'll
of
have to get you.
well, I heard of Grim Humor before I heard of Fourth Dimension, actually, just from,
Really?
well, yeah, just from reading, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah, a lot of stuff from the continent. And so when I saw the term Grim Humor fanzine, I remember, coming across it, but never seeing any actual copies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was quite a success actually, and it just grew and grew, and it became quite a big concern.
Yeah.
It lasted until 1993,
Okay. Okay.
and so I did 18 editions in that
Mhm.
time. But it
Wow.
started out, as I said, documenting groups like Virgin Prunes
Mhm.
and Killing Joke,
Mhm.
Sex Gang Children,
Mhm.
UK Decay,
Mhm.
or the groups that came after them.
Mhm.
So and some dodgy goth stuff. So I can, I was a teenager, so
Sure, sure.
um,
You gotta
um,
gotta try it all.
yeah, exactly. So
Mhm.
there's some good stuff in there as well,
Mhm.
though. But well, Virgin Prunes and Killing Joke would be two of those.
No
Uh,
doubt, no
um,
doubt. Yeah.
but we also had stuff going on, some stuff like In the Nursery and
Yeah.
Crass and some
Yeah.
other kind of electronic music in there
Yeah.
as well.
So you
And
started
they
meeting people. You started meeting these people, right?
Yeah, I was network, and because there were kind of magazines at the time devoted to punk music. One was
Mhm.
called Punk Lives. There was Zigzag magazine, which was
Right.
not only punk, but it documented lots of it.
Right.
And
Zigzag actually got over here. I actually got
oh,
some
did
Zigzag.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So I used to have a huge pile of them, but I got rid of most of my magazines actually. They were just they just became clutter for me in the
Sure.
end. I
Yeah. Yeah.
wasn't returning to them anymore. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, these magazines would give Grim Humor favourable reviews, and
hmm hmm
and they just, because of that, I just immediately got tapped into the network.
Yeah.
I started having lots of orders.
hmm
People were writing to me, and the network just grew and grew. And of course, that put me in touch with lots of other fanzine writers,
Yeah.
mail order places,
Hmm
um, small record labels,
hmm
and I started receiving lots of stuff as well. So that was really
Yeah.
nice.
Well, yeah, I think that's
So,
exciting, and it's still you're going full force here in the 2020s. Isn't that awesome?
well, yeah, I guess there's no stopping me at this stage, So, a year after Grim Humor was founded, I I took over. There's a guy called Gary Levermore, a friend of mine, who
Okay.
had a label called Third Mind Records. You
Yes.
might be familiar with that.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah. And yeah, you probably have a few records
I
as
do.
well
I
from the
do.
label.
I do.
So Gary Levermore is still a good friend of mine as well. And he founded a subsidiary called Fourth Dimension Records in
Mhm.
1983, I think it was, late 1983, 1984. And he agreed to putting out a flexi disc
Mhm.
that accompanied Grim Humor.
Mhm.
That was his second release.
Mhm.
I don't know what his reasons were for the subsidiary, but nonetheless, he did do this.
Mhm.
And then after I did this flexi disc that was issued with Grim Humor,
Mhm.
I said to Gary, "Oh, I'd like to do another release,
Mhm.
and maybe you could help me with that on Fourth Dimension Records
Mhm.
again."
Mhm.
He only ever did one record himself on Fourth Dimension Records, a 7-inch by a group called Persian Flowers, a
Okay.
sort of post-punk psychedelia or psychedelic crossover
Mhm.
group
Mhm.
with Wasted Youth connections.
Mhm.
Um, but Gary, in that conversation, said, I don't want to continue with this. So maybe you would like to take over Fourth Dimension." And I
Wow.
said, "Oh, okay." So I didn't really take it very seriously.
Mhm. Mhm.
Initially, I did several cassette releases over the next few years.
Mhm.
But it was later in the 1980s, 1988, that
Mhm.
my ex-wife
Mhm.
also got involved with this,
Okay.
and she issued the first 7-inch by my first group, which was called Playground.
Mhm.
And so all of these things were running sort of side by side,
Mhm.
simultaneously. There was Playground, Fourth Dimension, which was starting to become a more serious concern in that by the time we got to the Playground 7-inch and a couple of other 7-inch releases in the late 80s.
Okay.
Fourth Dimension, Playground, and Grim Humour, and through all of these, you know, the network just widened.
That's awesome. So I'm kind of curious. Did you start to play music as a result of that, or were you playing music already as a person?
I can't play a thing. I'm a complete non-musician, so all the credit to the music that I've been involved with has to go with the people I've always worked with.
Okay.
You know, I've used guitars and stuff on stage, but mostly I'm doing vocals, and I would never classify myself as a singer. You know, my timing is terrible. What I can explain though is because I was reviewing so much stuff for Grim Humour and trashing a lot of it as well.
I noticed that.
yeah. I'm not. I mean, I was terrible. I've said this many times. That, you know, I used to receive cassettes in the post and 7-inches. I think I did it with a 7-inch once, and I would go through. You know, it's ironic that I've become an English teacher, but I used to go through all the press notes with a red pen, correct all the spelling mistakes and grammar errors, and then I did this a few times. I stood on the cassette, and sent it back. You know, there was usually an SAE accompanying the cassette or the record. I broke a 7-inch once as well, and I just said, "Go and get a real job," you know, to these people. so I'm really, you know, I'm not proud of this. You know, I'm much older now, and I appreciate the effort. You know,
but you were honest. You were honest.
Yeah, I didn't like it. You know, there's a chance I would like it now. You know, whatever the music was.
Things do change. They do change.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, I was arrogant. It's not something to be proud of. You know, pig-headed and arrogant. People bought Grim Humour partly for that reason. So I was kind of playing up a little to to character. So plus coming out from the punk thing, you know, I was,
of course, yeah. Well, good for
you know, I was kind of trying to prove myself.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing you didn't get stuck like some people.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I hate that, you know. So yeah, that was it was never part of my fabric, you know, my makeup.
I have several questions, but let's start with you and the latest thing I got. So on this new Splintered, is your main involvement vocal?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, I will. You know, we bounce ideas between each other, and of course, I might say, you know, can you do this at the end of the song or that, or you know, we all do that, you know. So, but that's really, you know, that's my involvement. I think I used to be a little more dictatorial, and again, going back to the 1990s when Splintered were first going, and also Playground before that, you know, I had people walk out from the group because again, I'm a non-musician, and I really am. I think we hear people like Marky Smith back in the day say that they were non-musicians, but I think they had a sense of timing and everything else. I think I've improved, but I really am, you know, not very good with, you know, rhythm and timing, and I wouldn't, you know, if somebody said this is in E or A, I wouldn't know. I know you're a musician, so
basically
you would, yeah. So I have problems with all of that. So, but I do know what I like and what I don't like, and one of the, to go back to what I was saying, one of the reasons Playground started in 1986 was because I was receiving all this stuff and trashing it generally, and I thought I need to justify this, you know, this Grim Humour persona of mine. I need to see what it's like on the other side.
Yes.
So and that's really the starting point. I thought, you know, and again, probably by that point, late 80s, although I still trashed records, well, I was honest, you know, I just believed in, subscribed to being honest. Although I still was honest in my reviews, if I didn't like something, I'd say it. I still felt a little pang of guilt, and I thought I need to see what's involved and get involved
Yes,
with
yes.
that. So that was really the rationale behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And Splintered came out of Playground in 1989, 1990, and Splintered continued until about 97, 98. And then we fell apart. We kind of stood still for a number of years. And about 2014, we reactivated and we started playing shows again.
Yeah,
And and this album is the result of
yeah.
me once again pushing.
Yes, because I have something else by Splinter that you sent me before, some older stuff.
Oh, okay. Do you know what it is, or
I I
you
have,
don't know? Was it vinyl or
it
CD?
was vinyl, it was a vinyl.
Oh, okay.
So, but I think it was you involved with Faust members, possibly.
No, that's Theme. That's another
Okay,
group that came out.
theme. That's it, theme. I have
Yes.
that. Yeah, rather
So
interesting.
Theme came out of Splintered. Um, Splintered, let's say the first version of Splintered, although it's the same lineup now. As I said, Ground to a Halt, 97, 98. Probably because everybody was fed up with me, So, as I said earlier, I think I think we're all friends,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think it's safe to say that's what was behind it,
Mm-hmm.
because I was a dictator to a certain degree, and I think Theme came out of the other. Splinter did a European tour in 97, late 97, and it was with mostly a new lineup that I quickly assembled just to oblige this tour.
Okay.
And because everybody else had left, all the original members had left. I think, everybody had left, and I think Theme came out of that period whereby Splinter had ground to a halt, and I found myself getting on really well with a friend of mine called Stuart Carter, and he's now involved in Splintered. Kept him for Splintered, let's say Mark II, Theme is still it's an ongoing concern as well. So it exists alongside Splintered.
Okay.
As I said, Splintered have been going again since 2014, 2015, but I insisted that we had new material, hence this new album, the one you just held up to the camera.
Cool.
And Theme, I think I'll go back to Theme. We've got ideas fermenting. So the Theme is Stuart and myself, whereas Stuart is also involved in Splintered, which involves the original members and myself. Yeah.
So I take it that you have a high level of energy. You stay pretty involved. It sounds like you stay busy.
I like to keep busy. I don't know how much energy I've got. I'm quite fortunate in the sense that I work. I've got let's say a day job. I keep my hand in with teaching.
Yeah.
Mostly private lessons, but I also keep my hand in with a local school as well. But I only work 20 to 25 hours a week, so that affords me lots of free time during the day to do everything else, and that was always my ambition, to have that kind of happy medium. But it is full on. My wife and I have got a 2.5-year-old daughter. We've just got a dog late last year as well, and so we've got a dog, 2 cats, so it's a busy life, but I wouldn't say I'm full of energy. No. Stamina, maybe. Stamina.
You keep it coming, which is pretty cool. Over the years I've gotten a steady stream of interesting material from you, Richard, and I appreciate. I'm also curious what made you decide to start adding me to your mailing list, because I'm honored.
I think. Oh, thank you. It's nice to hear that.
Yes.
I like your passion as well, and I like your honesty as well. And these are 2 factors I think are sadly missing from a lot of the bullshit in music.
Seriously, yeah, really, yeah.
And I don't know how I stumbled across your your YouTube channel, but
Well, I'm
probably
glad you did.
yeah. Well, I it must go back a couple of years as well
Yeah, yeah.
now. Yeah, how long have you been receiving stuff from me? Two,
It's
3 years?
it seems like as much as maybe 3 to 4 years, maybe.
Really?
Right, because I
So,
for a minute I was going to try to pull the stuff because I've kept everything you've sent me, but then I got waylaid and then I didn't.
oh, don't
Yeah,
worry about that.
yeah.
Even I would have that problem, you know.
Right.
So, so trying to find everything.
How many
But
releases though? How many releases have you put out total?
well,
Label.
that's a good question because, as you know, I've got two other labels as well.
Yes.
That there's one founded by a former friend of mine, Lumberton Trading Company.
I
That
was
started in 2005.
okay, and I was wondering about the name Lumberton Trading.
Well, that really came from my former friend. It's somebody
Okay,
who I've fallen out with.
okay, okay. All
He
right.
gave up on the label before we fell out, actually.
Okay, okay,
But Lumberton itself is a direct reference to a David Lynch town,
okay.
a town in a David Lynch film. I think it's in Blue. Is it in Blue Velvet, or it might even be? No, it's not Twin Peaks. Anyway, there's a David Lynch. I think it's Blue Velvet.
Okay.
Um, so there's, and we were both lovers of David Lynch's
Mm-hmm.
films. So that's the reference there.
Okay.
And the idea behind that again was it was a collaborative
Mm-hmm.
effort on the label. So it wasn't only me being
Mm-hmm.
responsible for what happened with the label. It was also
Yeah.
my former friend as well. But
Mm-hmm.
um, when we as I said, he gave up on the label fairly quickly, and I thought, what do I do? Do I continue with this?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, yeah, maybe I should, and maybe it should be a label that's learned from Fourth Dimension's many mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
That was the idea.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's also made lots of mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In terms of a missing barcode on one release, that was printed. And
Mm-hmm.
so no escaping mistakes.
No doubt,
Um,
no doubt.
and Winter Hill Recordings is the third label, and the idea behind that was to make it a label dedicated to reissues, archive material,
Okay.
and so on. And the
Okay.
Mummies and Madmen CD
Mm-hmm.
is the latest CD on that label.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
so there's three different, concepts, as it were, behind the labels. Fourth Dimension is the one that goes back to my DIY punk roots, but I'm not only interested in that kind of music.
Yeah. Yes, no doubt. Very interesting to me. And um, I see that you worked with White House.
I organised a show.
Okay.
That's another thing. Again, going back to my one of the reasons why I moved to Krakow.
Mm-hmm.
I organised a few shows in England,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and as you know yourself, it's hard work.
Yes,
So
it is.
it's not easy. So
Yes, yes. People don't know what it takes behind the scenes.
absolutely.
I'm curious what it was like to work with what was his name, Richard Bennett, the guy from White House.
William Bennett.
William Bennett.
William Bennett is a friend of mine, and we were in touch for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I moved to Krakow, 2005, for about 2 or 3 years, I organised a number of shows here in Krakow, and
Mm-hmm.
even a few beyond Krakow in other Polish cities as well. I organised shows by a Japanese guitarist, Tabata Mitsuru, who was in Zenny Gava, and
Mm-hmm.
I think he was involved in Boredoms and
Mm-hmm.
things like this. And he became a solo artist in his own
Yes.
right as well.
Yeah.
So Acid Mother's Temple would be another of his groups,
Yeah.
So lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But William Bennett, I organised the only White House shows in Poland,
Mm-hmm.
and they then. Well, no, I think William started Cut Hands a few years later, and I had Cut Hands over here as well.
Oh, okay.
So William, as I said, is somebody who goes back a long way with me. Again,
Mm-hmm.
one of the people I used to network with.
Wow.
When
Nice.
I had Fourth Dimension mail order in the
Mm-hmm.
90s,
Mm-hmm.
I would stock White House releases. I love White House.
Mm-hmm.
For me, they very much relate to that kind of punk, you know,
Very much, very
kind
much.
of
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
aesthetic, if you
totally.
like.
In your
There's an
face.
avant-garde sensibility there as
Yes,
well. Yeah,
very much in your face. Yeah.
absolutely. So, and William, as I said, just became a friend, and we connected. You know, I think we mostly connect on horror films now. You know, so we're mostly exchanging messages to each other with recommendations for horror films. But he's a really, really nice guy whose image belies him. You know,
That's what I
you
figured.
know,
See, that's what I was going to get to. It's like, surely he's not what we think he is because of the music.
yeah, absolutely. He's a perfect gent. You know,
Yeah.
he maybe he'll hate me saying this. You know, but so
The veil has
but
been lifted. Well,
yeah, yeah.
you're
But he's a perfect gentleman
you're
and a great
associated with some
guest.
pretty cool people. You know what I'm saying? Edward Caspell, Stephen Wilson, the members of
Well,
Faust. I mean, you have a nice
yeah.
circle of connections.
Well, you know, you know, there are, you know, I didn't plan it. You know, I didn't kind of, you know, there's plenty of people who I've worked with who are very obscure as well.
Yeah,
Um, uh, Ashtray Navigations, for example, Phil Todd,
right.
lots of other people. Map 71, who I tried pushing
Hmm.
up until about a year, 2 years ago,
Hmm.
a Brighton duo. Um, so it's not only about, you know, the likes of Stephen Wilson,
Right,
Edward Caspell,
right.
etc.
Mhm.
You
Question:
know,
when in promoting or putting out releases by these less known artists, how do you do with that? I mean, how are sales? Do you sell? Do you sell? Do they sell at all?
yeah, I would say they generally break even
Okay.
over a period of time.
Yeah.
That's usually my main criteria. I can't
It's
afford to lose money now, so
absolutely. Yeah.
you know, and I always push to break even. I don't know how much attention you pay to what I do with my labels when I'm promoting them on social media, but I
Mhm.
do lots of deals. I do lots of yeah, bargains.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
try and keep a deal going for 7 CDs, 7 new CDs
Yeah, I didn't
on
know
the
that.
labels.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know
for
that. So
a
that's
really
cool.
cheap price.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
and that
cool.
really helps. Yeah, it really helps.
Yeah,
I don't think enough labels do it. You know, for me, it's not about money. You know,
right,
it's
right.
about
Doing it.
breaking even.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
doing it.
doing
Yeah.
it and getting enough just to do the next release, move
Same
on.
here. Yeah, that's
You
how
know,
I operate too. Is I break
I thought
even,
so.
yeah,
Yeah,
break even and then move to the next one. Awesome.
absolutely.
That's
So it's
awesome.
really as simple as that. If I have enough money to buy a book or a new record, you know, along the way,
Hmm.
then great. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, because I love, you know, buying records. I don't have quite the same collection as you, but you know, but I've got quite a number of records. You
Yes,
know, but you can't see them.
I see the
Yeah,
CDs and the
you can
book
see CDs, and
and the books. There
there's
you
some
go.
over there. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
there you go. And
probably yeah,
yeah,
there's
and
more
my books are in the
more
other room.
around.
So I read, but my books are in the other room. So
Yeah, yeah, I've got more books downstairs as well, and they're hidden in the corner of this room as well.
yes,
Yeah, yeah, you know, there's never enough time for everything, though.
no, no.
So,
I'm really enjoying the conversation, and I think I could talk to you a long, long time. So let me get a couple of questions in
yeah,
before.
sure. Yeah,
So,
I know I talk a lot as well.
well,
So,
that's okay. How is this doing? How is this doing? The base communion.
well, that's a good question because that is an example of one of my more successful releases.
Okay. Hmm.
Um, uh, Stephen Wilson
Hmm.
is somebody who I think he's very humble and and maybe modest to a degree.
Hmm.
But he only wanted to do 1,000 of these CDs,
Hmm.
and the release date was last Friday.
Hmm.
Although we put some on sale at the merch stall at my event at
Okay.
Cafe Otto in London
Hmm.
2 Saturdays ago.
Uh-huh.
Um, the actual release date was last Friday, Friday the 24th.
Hmm.
So a few days ago, and I, although we started doing pre-order on that in March,
Hmm.
I realised last week when I was starting to, you know, when I came back from England last week, and I was starting to really get stuck into dealing with the pre-orders for this, you know, the direct orders for the Base Communion album.
Hmm.
I thought actually, you know, because I keep a note of all the people that have pre-ordered
Hmm.
copies. I thought I think I don't have enough stock, because obviously some copies have gone to distributors. I'm in
Right,
the
right.
process of obliging some mail orders that I'm in touch with as well.
Mhm.
So in answer to your question, it's gone really, really well, maybe too well. So we've had to order another 500 CDs.
Wow.
There are only 1,000,
Yeah,
originally
congratulations.
ordered. Yeah, it's brilliant. And
Yeah.
again, I think it's a testament to Stephen's kind of. I think he just underestimated how much demand there would be for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's quite you've listened to that album.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
It's quite uneasy listening at points. It's not, it's not a smooth ambient
No,
journey.
no, I'm actually very curious, like talking to you, I am still very curious to talk to him about that aspect of him as a person, because I think it's revealing.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
I think it does show in some of his other work. This
Yes,
kind
it
of,
does.
let's say,
It does.
dark side.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So there's always a thread, even in Porcupine Tree and whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, I but I think well, no, I don't want to say it's his. It's a distillation of his purest, of his most honest or boldest voice, face
I
or
get what you're
voice.
saying.
But
Yes.
I think it might actually be quite close to his heart what
Yeah,
he's doing with.
what he's really
Yeah,
like. That's
yeah.
what I think. Yeah.
Well, he collaborates with a lot of other people on
Yes, he does.
on his
Yeah.
solo works,
Right.
and I think he must factor those other voices in,
Yeah.
the collaborators in, and obviously Porcupine Tree as a group, so
Right.
that's a group effort.
Yeah.
And I think Base Communion and maybe a couple of his other earlier projects
Mhm.
are kind of pure in a
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
and this record, well, this album is definitely it's definitely a trip into the dark side. It's
And kudos to you for putting it out.
Oh well, I'm quite a recent convert to Stephen's work.
Mhm, mhm,
I saw your interview with Richard Barbieri,
mhm,
and
mhm.
it's great. He's another very interesting character,
Very interesting.
interesting musician,
Mhm.
and I again I don't quite know how I stumbled. Yeah, I probably maybe even as simple as that. Having checked out some Barbieri's work, I
Mhm.
then found Stephen Wilson's work
That's how I
and
found him. That's how I
explored it.
found him.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how I
yeah.
found him.
And then I read Stephen Wilson's book. Amazing,
Yeah,
So
and then this is
yeah, yeah.
stellar. This is
Uh,
really good.
I'm glad you like it.
Well, seriously.
Edward's done me proud there. And again, very very down to earth, very
Yes.
humble.
Yeah.
Lovely guy, just an all round nice person,
Yes.
and
Yes.
does this amazing music.
Totally.
Absolutely incredible music.
It really does.
One of my good friends, a guy called Steve Pittis, who is also involved in Splintered and
Mhm,
has his own project called Band of Pain. He
mhm,
was on Instagram yesterday with a little post about Tales from the Trenches and just
mhm.
said this must be album of the year,
Yeah.
for him. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that really touched me as well. And I think Edward, obviously Stephen is an exception because he is recognised,
Mhm.
at least for Porcupine Tree and
Yeah.
the work under his own name.
Right.
But people like Edward, I think, they deserve far greater
I
recognition.
totally
Yeah, they're
agree.
recognised in our circles, but
Right. Right. Yeah.
he's known in our circles, but he deserves far more.
He's
You know,
amazing. He truly is amazing.
absolutely, and he's
Yeah.
so prolific as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Blows my mind.
to maintain that level of,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, that standard of work, that
Yeah.
really good quality, high level quality of work, and to keep putting it out there. I don't know how. There's a man who's got. You've interviewed him as
Yeah,
well.
I'm looking forward to talking to him again. He's gotten busy, so I told him just get back to me when you got a little bit of time. He's a little busy
Yeah,
right now. Yeah,
absolutely. But I'm sure he'll oblige, and he's another really interesting person with lots to say, and
absolutely.
lots of stamina or energy, however
Mhm.
you want to,
Yeah,
describe it.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
very, yeah, amazing, absolutely
Mhm.
incredible
Mhm.
person.
So
So
now you have a book out about your fanzine. Besides that, are you still writing? Do you still write?
yeah, I'm still. I don't write as often as I'd like to. I'm trying to finish the third Grim Humor book.
Mhm.
So I, over the last few years, I've published on Fourth Dimension, two so far two big collections
Mhm.
of grim humor,
Mhm.
and they're not just straightforward reprints. I'm
Okay.
also writing new content there as
Oh,
well.
okay.
I'm actually
Okay.
re-editing some of the interviews,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they go right across the board. I describe what grim humor used to focus on, but
Mhm.
later on we went into films, directors like Peter Greenaway, David Lynch, John Waters,
Mhm.
people like that, and we started going into other areas of music with
Yeah.
Coil,
Mhm.
um, uh, people like Henry Rollins, Fugazi,
Mhm.
Faith No More,
Nice.
Lydia Lunch, Sonic Youth,
Nice.
Steve Albini, people
Mhm.
like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Whitehouse and whatever
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm working on a third volume of those grim humor books,
Mhm.
and I've also done two books on music directly about Ramley, and also one with Mark Perry of Alternative
Yeah.
TV.
Alternative TV. I was
So another
surprised by
person I
that.
work with.
Right. I was surprised how much I liked that alternative TV because I remember the older stuff, which was a
Oh
little
yeah, yeah,
kind of ramshackle to me. This latest this latest one
yeah.
is like, oh, this is holding together pretty well for my taste. I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously they started out with a few kind of punky numbers as well, back in the
Mhm.
day,
Right.
77.
Yeah.
But 77, 78. But then they very quickly, as you said, went into this kind of more ramshackle improv,
Yeah.
ramshackle direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've done lots of other stuff since, even
Mhm.
synth pop,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
all kinds of music.
Mhm.
But yeah, I did a book on Mark Perry,
Mhm.
ATV, and I'm still thinking about what to do for my third book. But I
Mhm.
think I've got too much on my plate at the moment. The Bass Communion album is keeping me really, really busy.
I'll
So
bet. I'll bet. I'm
yeah,
really glad I got a copy of it. Thank you so much.
well, you're welcome. And I like to include you on the mailing list because, again, I appreciate your honesty, your
Mhm.
earnestness, your and your passion.
Mhm.
And if you don't like something, you say it as well. And I don't
Mhm.
expect you to
Yeah.
like everything that I release.
Yeah. It's
So,
best
and
it's
I'm not
best that way.
offended if you don't. So,
Well, well, you
you
you know
know.
what it's like to speak honestly. So.
Yeah, yeah, and I think if you're involved in music or in any of the arts, I
Mhm.
think you should be prepared for people not liking you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
don't
Exactly.
don't put it in the public domain if you're not if you're not prepared for somebody to
Right.
hate what you're doing.
Exactly. Because it's
So
going to happen. It's going to happen.
yeah, absolutely, and it's not personal.
No. No.
They might like you, but they don't have to like your work.
Totally.
So
Totally.
so
Totally.
so writing is still very much something I want to do, but I
Mhm.
don't have enough time at the moment. I'm just so embroiled in what I'm doing with the labels right now.
Awesome. Well,
So
I'm glad that you're doing that.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
you produced this. What was your involvement on this album?
But that's a document of a
Mhm.
concert I organised in Krakow
Okay. Okay.
by them. Yeah, I
Okay.
organised a Faust show in Krakow in 2006, I think it was.
Hmm.
It was professionally recorded as well. So I've got a good friend here in Krakow called Marcin Barsky. He helped organize the recording,
Hmm.
and then we released the recording. That was the agreement.
Hmm.
So initially it was a double CD,
Hmm.
and then we did the vinyl
Yeah, I love
later
it.
on with my friend Steve Pittis
That's
of
awesome.
Dirt Promotions help.
That's awesome.
So great show. Lost lots of money though. There were only 70 people there, So
Yeah.
so so that was the downside. But Faust are fantastic live.
Yeah, no doubt.
Have you seen them?
I've never got to see Faust live, but they're
Really?
big.
Oh,
They're big. They're a big influence on me. When they've come to America, the few times that they've come to Chicago, I wasn't able to travel, and so I just missed it. And I'm in Omaha, and that stuff hardly
Yeah,
comes here, you know. So,
of course.
but they
So you can,
when I discovered them back in the '70s, it was life changing for me. So I just think that's awesome that you've worked with them, with the members.
yeah, yeah, and and again, I got on really well with Jean-Hervé Perron, and
Yes, yes.
to the point where in maybe a few years later, maybe in and around 2009, 2010, Theme
Mm-hmm.
at the time, so
Yeah,
my other group
yeah.
were working with lots of improvisers
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, based in Hungary
Yeah.
and also here in Poland.
Hmm.
And Jean Hervé also joined us
Hmm.
for a few shows.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
of course, he was playing his bass.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
weirdly, you know, I've already explained that I'm not much of a vocalist. You know, I can shout and scream over a wall of noise,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you know, holler and you know, and vocalize or whatever, chant or whatever. But um, Jean Hervé always said he was following my voice when we played live,
Wow,
rather than following the percussion, you know, or the
that's
rhythm.
cool. Wow.
So yeah, that was yeah, which was he said, Richard, you're always out of time, so I'm using that as a starting point to where I'm going with my bass. So
And I think that's clever, you know, because it would make the music go here
it
rather
helped,
than there.
yeah, helped
Yeah.
absolutely, and we always got on really really well. Jean Hervé is another really interesting character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love the guy. I'd
Yeah.
like to work with him again, you know,
No
or
doubt.
even do a release by him. But
Yeah, he does seem like he would be an interesting person to be around.
oh, absolutely, you know, a little crazy, but
Mhm.
as you say
Yes.
yourself, you know, in your
Yeah. Yeah.
uploads, you know,
Yeah.
good crazy, you know, it's
Yeah. Good crazy. You get because
yeah,
again,
yeah,
yeah, it's my
yeah,
background and I can recognize the difference. And all the musicians that I respect are a little crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's something in that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
they've all got their little idiosyncrasies, you know, and I
Totally.
think I would even include Stephen Wilson in that mix as
I
well, you know.
agree. I would
Yeah,
agree.
so
I would agree.
so I hope that they all would all agree as well, you know.
No
so
doubt.
so so
So
yeah,
it's the evening where you're at? Is it the evening?
yeah, it's 10 to 6 right now. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so it's quite light, obviously, until about 8 o'clock at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and warm and sunny, and yeah, all the lizards are in the garden. You know, I had a fight with a lizard earlier that one of the cats are brought in. So yeah, so so yeah, but yeah, it's the early evening, and
Mm-hmm.
usually I'm yeah, sometimes I'm doing lessons until around this time, but today I cancelled my lessons to have this, you
Well,
know,
I appreciate it.
chat with you.
I appreciate it. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to wrap up fairly soon, mainly because my body is, you know,
Yeah,
trying to get,
yeah,
but um, so this week you'll be mostly involved with base communion this week.
yeah, and yeah, base communion. I've just today, this afternoon, I was working this morning, but this afternoon
Mhm.
I was dealing with mail orders like
Mhm.
Sound Dome in Italy
Mhm.
and a few other places as well, Drone Records in
Mhm.
Germany, just packing, you know, huge
Mhm.
boxes of
Okay.
orders. One for
Okay.
Japan, not only base communion, some old releases as well, some back catalogue stuff. So, yeah,
Hey,
Kleischwar.
well, tell me about this guy. You've sent me several of his stuff, and I've warmed to this. At first, I wasn't like,
I thought you were a little distant to it at the
at
beginning.
first, you know, it's taken me a while. But what's the deal with this person?
Well, he wants to do one album a year
Okay.
until he dies. You know, that's the plan. And I
Wow.
said I will continue supporting that for that idea for as long as I possibly can. You know,
Wow.
maybe in a few years I'll have a change of heart, or
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, maybe I'll be living under a bridge. You know, who knows? But but
Mhm.
but I thought, yeah, I'm on board with this guy again. Another guy who I find really lovely,
Is he
really.
Polish? Is he
In,
Polish?
no, he was in Ramley, who came out of the where he is in Ramley.
Okay.
So they came out of the power electronic scene.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
They yeah, and it's a very you know
Are they
they were very much contemporaries of
associated with Stephen Stapleton, possibly?
not so much with him. That would be William Bennett.
Okay.
who collaborated with Stevens, but
Okay.
certainly from the same, let's say, the same gene pool.
Yes.
Early 80s,
Yeah.
power electronics, harsh, brutal
Yeah.
electronic noise.
Yeah.
Ramley were contemporaries of Whitehouse and consumer electronics.
That's what it is. Got it. Yeah.
And again, it's this. I always thought that again they've kind of got this. At the time, they had this kind of punkish stance. That's what brought me to their work.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
obviously there's something else going on there as well. But Gary and Ramley, Gary Mundy as a solo artist, as Kleistvar, and even with Ramley, have gone in completely different directions since. There might be threads of the harsh noise there now, but I'm surprised you don't like or didn't like Kleistvar far more.
It's, you know, the way I can explain
it's psychedelia.
It is. What I have to explain though is that it sometimes depends on when I hear it, and then
okay,
just kind of, you know, it can be set in setting and what's going on with me. So that's why I say I have warmed up to these, and I've listened.
Okay, if you, if you're in the right headspace, then I think it really. Well, you know, you can argue that with all kinds of music, but you know, and I don't just listen to this kind of music. I can listen to Herbie Hancock and Sun Ra and everything else as well. I've got all kinds of, you know, I've even got James Brown and whatever, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, so I've got very broad taste in music.
Yeah, I came around. Do you do the designs on these? I like the design. I've come around.
No, I always let the artists do their own. I've got a great designer, an American called Puppy 38, who operates under the name Puppy 38, lives in Vienna. Wow. He's on board with the design work or the artwork side of things. And he's lived in Vienna for, I think, 8 or 10 years now. But I think he's originally from Texas. Wow. Huge fan of Skinny Puppy, so hence Puppy 38. You know, each to their own, but you know, so but anyway, really nice guy. And again, the artwork is always down to the artist that I work with. Sometimes they might need a little guidance, or you know, they might bounce some ideas around with me. You know, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? But it's primarily down to themselves, and I put them in touch with the designer, Puppy 38. He assembles everything, tweaks everything according to their own requirements, and then it's game on with the production, you know. Obviously Bass Communion wasn't done like that, because Stephen Wilson's got his own designer, you know. Very different. Very different way of working.
I'm happy to say, Richard, that so far what you've sent me, you haven't sent me anything that is crap.
Okay, that's nice to hear.
No, you haven't sent me anything that I have to diss. You just sent me things that at times have been challenging, but always
I like that.
Always fulfilling. So I want to let you know that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, because that's one of the, you know, that's something I hope people will get. You know, I like listens. I like to listen to things that can take, you know, 2 or 3. You know, and I apply that to Sun Ra or whatever, you know, or Albert Ayler or whoever. You know, lots of free jazz, and I think, you know, anything that just requires a little effort, you know, from here to, you know, to try to get to, you know, maybe we don't always reach that point where we fully understand it, but maybe every time you listen to it, you're getting something else, you know. You're getting something extra from it, you know.
And I definitely do, and I really appreciate it.
And I think that's something I aim for with most of my releases, you know. So some of them might be a little different, but most of them fall into that category, I think.
Cool.
So
I lament that my body has a short
it's all right. No,
regarding having to go, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. I've seen your other chats where I was wondering when your bathroom break might happen.
But can we do this again? Can we talk some more?
Of course we can. Yeah.
Awesome.
And of course, as I promised you in an email, Stephen Wilson, you know, I'm on his case, but I think he'll wait until the promotion work is underway for the new solo album. I think that will be happening later this year as well. So sooner than we expect.
That's
I think.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Don't hold me to it. It's Stephen's.
It's not even not even an issue. I just the fact that it could happen is cool. talking to you today right now is wonderful. I'm really
Oh, love.
glad
I've
we've
really enjoyed
collected.
it as well, Dereck. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I've said this to a few other folks. You feel like a friend.
Yeah, but likewise, I'd be very happy shooting the shit with you all
Yeah.
evening.
Yes,
So
absolutely. I've never been to Poland, but I've been to the Czech Republic. I
have
spent,
you? Oh
yes,
right,
I
okay.
played there. And
Uh,
that's kind of close to Poland, isn't it?
it's next door. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
there are a
yeah,
few countries that are next door, but that is one of them, and it's a
yeah.
really nice place.
I
So
really liked it.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
But how long ago was that?
this was in 2007.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah,
And I know you don't drink, but
nope,
they do
no,
good
and
beers
that
there.
was like,
No,
whoa, good God
yeah,
Almighty! Most people
yeah,
fucking drink.
yeah.
Now I'm in the Midwest of America, where there's a bar on literally almost every corner. So we're some heavy
Similar to
drinkers.
England.
Yeah, but I tell you what, when I was in Prague for a couple days. We did a couple shows, and I was blown away at the way those people can put it away. They can just put it
Oh,
away,
absolutely. Yeah,
man.
yeah. It's a drinking culture. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, nice country anyway. And
yeah,
Poland's pretty
yeah.
similar in many respects. I'm sure most of my Polish friends would disagree, but yeah, they have a good connection, I think. So
Cool,
yeah, good relationship.
cool. Well,
But yeah,
thanks
it's
so
been
much.
lovely talking to you. I
Yes,
appreciate the fact you need to go. Nature's
yes.
calling.
But thank you
So
so much for taking the time, and I'll be in touch soon
you're
about
welcome.
doing this again. All right.
Okay, that'd be lovely. So I'm very happy to do it again. So
Awesome, Richard. Thanks a lot.
thanks a lot.
You take
You
care.
take care.
All right.
See you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dereck.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.